So clearly the EU is a potentially really important market when it comes to critical minerals. And the big development in this space was obviously the Critical Raw Materials Act, which really signals the EU's commitment to secure a sustainable and resilient supply of critical minerals. So a couple of things there. One is obviously to supply into the EU, you are very much bound by their regulations. So that's a critical consideration. The other one is there is an opportunity within that with this concept of strategic projects, which supports the EU realizing their supply ambitions for countries outside of the EU to also participate in those strategic projects, which can give easier access to finance, expedited permitting, and indeed matchmaking with off-takers. So I think there's some real opportunity space that has been opened up through the CRMA in particular. Absolutely fundamental, I would say, because if you think about the way these critical minerals policies and strategies tend to be shaped, there are kind of three dimensions to it. There's a piece around increasing the domestic sourcing and supply, and that could be both the supply of raw materials or the refining of raw materials. So that's kind of one component. The second piece is that whole issue about building those strategic relationships and partnerships, very often using the term like-minded countries, to help secure additional sources of supply. And the third component that I think links really strongly to this is that very often there is conditionality associated with those sources from third countries, which often relates to the standards of ESG performance associated with their production. So hugely important, I think, those policies and partnerships when it comes to shaping future the critical mineral strategy. It's a big question, particularly in the current climate where we see developments on the trade front that are both kind of bewildering and ever-changing. But if we kind of set aside in some ways the recent turbulence in that space, I do think we are starting to see a much stronger alignment between private finance. Private providers of finance increasingly see the imperative for strong ESG performance when it comes to the supply of critical minerals. Regulatory developments such as CRMA, but also others domestically in different countries, are moving in that direction as well. And so that, I think, takes us to a future where the prospect of getting that alignment between supply and demand is much, much greater. And I should, of course, have mentioned a major driver of all of this, of course, are the end users, the customers who ultimately use the product in their consumer-facing products. These types of events are so important to ICMM because ultimately we want to be a part of big conversations that are critically important to our sector, but also conversations that take us outside of the specifics of the mining industry, talking to the mining industry. That's why we are such an enthusiastic participant in events like Innovation Zero World.